My name is Maya Bennett, and I am 33 years old. 14 months ago, I sat in a lawyer's office and listened to a stranger read out loud that my parents were leaving me nothing. The house I had quietly paid for, month after month, for 5 straight years, was going to my cousin. Every board, every shingle, every inch of the roof my money had kept over my mother and father's heads. My mom held my hand while the lawyer read it. She smiled at me the whole time, so I did something quiet. Something nobody in my family noticed for a month. And when my mother finally texted me about the mortgage, my reply took 8 seconds to type, and it cost me everything I thought I couldn't live without. What happened after that tore my family down to the studs. But here's what none of them knew. I kept every receipt. It started with a text the week before. "We're getting our affairs in order, sweetheart. We need you there Thursday." I read that and felt something warm and stupid bloom in my chest. Needed. I'm a financial analyst outside Portland, and deadlines don't pause for family. I paused anyway. I drove out to Cedar Falls with a folder on the passenger seat, copies of my parents' insurance policies, the mortgage summary, account numbers, all organized with color tabs. I thought I was coming to help. I thought, finally, they want this daughter with the spreadsheets in the room. The law office sat above a dry cleaner. I climbed the stairs, rehearsing helpful things to say, then opened the conference room door and stopped. My Aunt Carol was already seated, purse in her lap like a small dog. Next to her sat my cousin Colin, 34, in the blazer he wears to things he wants to go well for him. 2 cups of coffee already poured, none waiting for me. My parents sat across from them, and my dad was studying the parking lot like it owed him money. The lawyer, a careful man named Harold Weiss, looked up and said, "Maya, thank you for coming. This isn't going to be easy." He opened a binder and read it plainly, the way you'd read a weather report for a storm hitting someone else's town. My parents had created a trust. Into it went the house on Birchwood Lane, the accounts, my dad's truck, all of it. Upon both their passing, the sole beneficiary would be Colin Reyes, my cousin. Then Weiss read the last part slowly. As for their daughter, Maya Bennett, the trust made no provision. Intentionally, with love. Somebody built hours writing that. Weiss explained he'd advised telling me face to face. "It prevents ugly surprises later," he said. It was, he said, the kindest way. My mom took my hand in both of hers, warm as ever, and said, "Nothing changes, sweetheart. You'll still help. That's who you are." My dad hadn't met my eyes since I walked in. 66, a machinist his whole life, hands like old leather, and he wouldn't stop looking at that lot. Something about that scared me more than the binder did. My Aunt Carol delivered the line she must have practiced in the car. We all agreed. It's what's fairest. To make sense of fairest, you have to go back 5 years. Colin had a food truck business that started sinking. He didn't come to me, the numbers person. He went to my parents, and my parents, without telling me a single thing, refinanced the house they'd nearly paid off and pulled out $65,000 to save it. I found out after the papers were signed. The same month my dad had his first hospital stay, when his heart started its long argument with him. The new loan was $110,000 over 12 years, about $1,100 a month with taxes and insurance. My dad's pension and their Social Security couldn't cover it, not with medication stacking up. The bank gave them 30 days. My mom didn't ask me for money. She cried at her kitchen table with the statement in front of her, and then she looked up at me. I was 28, freshly promoted. I said the words that defined the next 5 years. "I'll cover it for a few months until things settle." The food truck died anyway. Nobody in the family ever knew the real number, 65,000 into Colin, never spoken of again. A few months became 5 years. 60 payments, the first of every month, $1,100, automatic, so I'd never have to hesitate. I added their phones, her car insurance, the roof repair. I kept renting a 1-bedroom while my coworkers bought houses. Twice I asked to be put on the deed. Both times my mom looked wounded and said, "The house will be yours one day, honey. Why make it cold with paperwork?" So I paid first and negotiated never. Back in the conference room, I asked one question. Why? It was Carol who answered. "Colin has children, honey. You're set." Set, like a diagnosis. My mom added that leaving the house to the one who needs it keeps a family close. Colin leaned back and said, "You can still come for Christmas, Maya, obviously." I stood, thanked Weiss, said I had a deadline, which was even true, and left with my folder of tabs nobody had asked to see. My calm made the room angrier than yelling would have. My dad caught me in the parking lot, out of breath, one hand braced on my trunk. "Your mother and Carol, once they decide something, it's like arguing with weather." Then he pressed a small cold key into my hand, the key to his workshop. "In case you ever need a place to think." He patted my trunk like a horse and went back inside. That night I opened my banking app. I do reconciliations for a living, But I had never once run that report on my own life. 60 payments, $1,100 a month, more than $90,000 total, against the word sweetheart, and a promise just notarized out of existence. My thumb hovered over cancel. I didn't press it. Never make a big decision angry, late at night. In the morning, I was thorough instead of angry. Canceled the mortgage auto pay, split off their phone plan, set my mom's car insurance to non-renew, moved the $5,000 I'd kept as a house emergency fund into my own savings. 90 minutes, 5 years unwound, no announcement, no blocked numbers either. Blocking is a door slam, and a slam is still a conversation. I wanted silence that simply doesn't show up. Nothing happened for 30 days. That's the twist. Nobody called to ask how the meeting had hit me. My mom sent 2 messages, a forwarded photo of Colin's kids, and a thumbs up on Carol's birthday post. 30 days of silence ran a cleaner audit than I ever could. The calls I used to get were never about me. They were about the roof guy, the insurance card, the thing. With no thing due, I didn't exist. Then, on a gray Tuesday, my phone buzzed at my desk. Mom, the mortgage is due. No hello, no question mark. I typed a long reply about respect and 5 years and deleted it. I wrote back the only true thing, not my problem. I put the phone in a drawer and finished my work. It rang for 3 days straight. Disbelief, then this isn't funny, then after everything we've done for you, then the one built to work. Your father's heart can't take this stress, I answered once. Family doesn't keep score, my mother said in her church voice. Then why does the scoreboard only ever show what I owe? I said gently. I hung up while she was still talking. She screenshotted my text and sent it to the family group chat. My Aunt Carol called after church for witnesses and told me, family isn't a ledger. Write that down, it detonates later. By Monday, I was removed from the chat. A cousin I hadn't spoken to in years texted, heard you cut your parents off. Wow. Nobody in that version mentioned 5 years of quiet payments because nobody knew. My Uncle Nathan, who says maybe 40 words a year, broke pattern. 2 sides to every roof, kiddo. Call me sometime. Colin showed up at my office, beanie in hand. Be reasonable. It's just a few payments. I'm good for it. Then he told me he and his girlfriend had put a deposit on a bigger house, counting on how things are structured now. My parents were alive and eating dinner on Birchwood Lane, and their nephew was already spending it. That night, I slid my old house key off my ring and dropped it in a drawer. My dad called the next morning. My dad does not call. We met at a diner. He told me a story I'd never heard. When my grandmother got sick, it was my mother who moved in for 3 years while Carol sent cards. My mother spent her whole wedding fund on that care, and when the house sold, it went to Carol's side anyway, because Carol needed it more. Nobody ever thanked her, my dad said. She waited to be seen, and it never came. Something in her went to sleep. It didn't excuse what she'd done. It explained it. Both things were true. Then he put his hand over mine. I'm gonna fix it. Give me a little time. By summer, foreclosure paperwork sat on my mom's hall table, and she told the family the bank had made an error. Carol held a family meeting I wasn't invited to. The conclusion, verbatim through Nathan, was, Maya will come around. She always does. Colin's contribution to the arrears that summer was $0. Then, at 4 in the morning, my mom's number lit up my phone. It's your father, Riverside General. Come. I was on the highway in 9 minutes, thinking about nothing except that I'd stopped paying their bills, but had never once stopped being his daughter. Heart failure, decompensated, the argument his heart had been having for 5 years, ending badly. My mother met me in the hallway and asked, Did you bring your checkbook or just yourself? Just myself, I said. That's what's left. Near dawn, his eyes opened and he pulled me close. You were never the bill, Maya. No apology, no mention of trusts, just that. Then his hand went slack, and 2 days later he died in his sleep. We buried him on a sunny Thursday. At the reception, refilling the coffee urn, I heard Carol announce to a half circle of relatives that some of us had money for a new car, but not for a dying father's roof. 30 faces did the math and landed on me. I set down the pot and said, at the volume of a spoon ascends to saucer, ask my mother what the refinance 5 years ago was for. The room made a sound like a held breath. On the steps, my Uncle Nathan asked, What refinance, Maya? I told him plainly and showed him my banking app, the green column marching back further than the screen could hold. He looked a long time, then went straight past the casseroles to my mother's table. By Wednesday, the story had flipped. My cousin Rachel, who pulls property records for work, confirmed the refinance in one lunch break and posted it to the chat I was no longer in. Carol's answers, an investment in family, nobody's business, sounded worse every time. Apologies started arriving. Colin's own girlfriend, Priya, texted me. I didn't know about the $65,000. He told me it was a small loan. I believe you. In fall, a deputy served a foreclosure summons on Birchwood Lane. My mother refused to list the house. It's Frank's house. I won't have strangers in it, apparently preferring the strangers the county would eventually send. Colin's deposit was forfeited around the same time. Nobody, through all of it, called to say sorry. They workshopped the money. They never once workshopped the apology. So when the law office called on a cold afternoon in January, I already knew two things. They were out of exits, and I was the last door. Same conference room, same coffee. Weiss laid it out. As surviving spouse, my mother could still amend her share of the trust. If I paid the arrears, just under $16,500, the loan would be reinstated, foreclosure dismissed, and she'd sign the house over to me that afternoon, already drafted in a folder. My mother took my hand, warm as ever. You see, it was always going to be yours. Nothing changes, sweetheart. The exact words from the day they erased me, offered back now as comfort. I asked for 24 hours. That night I made 2 columns. Column A, the house, the maple tree my dad planted the year I was born, my mother's hand in mine again. Column B, walk away, keep the money, lose the house for good, probably lose her too. Every line in A was a noun. Every line in B was a fact. 60 payments, no thank you. A trust that erased me with love. A bill by text message. The nouns were beautiful. That's their job. And I understood that the deal wasn't selling me the house at all. It was selling me back my old seat, the wallet with a pulse, $1,100 a month forever, forgiven exactly as long as I stayed useful. I drove out to the workshop instead of bed. It smelled like my whole childhood, oil and cedar and cold concrete. On the bench sat something I'd never seen, a porch swing, half-built, oak slats clamped and dry-fitted, waiting for glue that never came. On the crossbeam in my dad's shaky handwriting for Maya's front porch, whenever she finds home, not the house, somewhere ahead of me, unbuilt, mine. His fix wasn't a signature, it was permission. I cried the way you cry when nobody can hear it, then locked the door and went home. The next afternoon I walked back into Weiss's office and set one envelope on the table. Not money, a single printed statement, 60 lines, date and amount. And at the bottom, where the balance goes, no number. Just, paid in full. And the old brass house key. I'm not reinstating the loan, I said. You're not selling me a house today. You're selling me back my seat at this table at $1,100 a month for the rest of my life. I already paid 5 years for a chair nobody saved. The house was never the inheritance. I was, and you spent me. I turned to my aunt. You told me family isn't a ledger, Carol. You were right, but you're the ones who kept sending me the bill. Carol came up out of her seat, and the calm that had held that family together for decades came apart in one afternoon. My mother just looked at the statement. I gave my mother my wedding fund, she said quietly. Nobody thanked me either. That's what daughters do, Maya. We hold the family up. I know, Mom, I said, as gently as I had anything left. Somebody should have thanked you. You don't heal that by doing it to me. In the weeks after, my mother tried every exit a person can try when the math won't move. She asked if she could borrow from other relatives, but the family had already seen the county records, and nobody wanted to pour money down what one cousin unkindly and accurately called a well with no bottom. She refused every suggestion to sell before the sheriff's sale. Colin's credit cards, run up while he waited for a future that had already been spent, started calling him the way banks call, politely, then hourly. Priya went quiet in the way that any married person can tell you is the loudest sound in a house. 6 weeks later, the county sold the house on the courthouse steps. I didn't go. What money trickled out after the bank and fees went to my mother. Not nothing, but not a legacy either. Exactly one person showed up with a truck and boxes to move her into senior apartments. Me. I drove her myself in a rented pickup and told her plainly, watching the road because it was easier than watching her. I'll drive you, I'll carry boxes, I'll do your paperwork forever, but I won't pay you to love me. I tried that for 5 years, and you kept the money and canceled the love. She sat straight in her good coat and said nothing. For once her silence didn't cost me anything. This spring I signed my own name at a title office. A small blue-gray 2-bedroom, a porch that faces west. The payment is almost exactly what I used to send every month for 5 years. Same money. It just finally changed direction. My mom and I have coffee on Sundays now, an hour, no more. We never talk about Birchwood Lane. It's small like a coffee cup and it's honest, and it never used to be either of those things. She has never said sorry. I've stopped waiting for it. Carol doesn't speak to me. Colin works construction 2 states over. Priya still texts me photos of the girls, and I answer every time, because they're going to grow up watching how the women in this family get treated, and I intend to be a different example. The porch swing came home wrapped in moving blankets, like a patient. I finished it myself, glued the joints he'd fitted, sealed the crossbeam instead of sanding it because some handwriting you keep. It hangs facing west. I sit there with tea most evenings, in the house my own money bought, on the swing my father built for a home he knew I hadn't found yet. If I've learned one thing worth passing down, it's this. Walking away from a debt that was never yours isn't abandoning your family. It's the first payment you ever make on your own life.